Now on KOAM News at 5, an area school district is trying to address learning gaps students might have from virtual learning.
The fallout continues for the Biden administration over its handling of an influx of Haitian migrants along the U.S.-Mexico border. I'm Deborah Alfarone on Capitol Hill, where several lawmakers are calling the treatment of those migrants racist.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The McDonald County, Missouri School District is getting children ready for school before they step foot in the classroom. This is KOAM News at 5. The McDonald County Parents as Teachers program aims to identify any learning needs children may have due to the pandemic and virtual learning. They do this through speech training, early childhood education, and physical therapy.
When they come to school, they're not necessarily always ready for school. It's our job as teachers in McDonald County Schools in the early childhood program to really meet that need and make sure that we're trying to get the children as ready as they can be for kindergarten.
McDonald County educators say these programs are available now. We're going to have more information on this program and what local teachers have seen in their students tonight at 6. Joplin Trucking Company is celebrating its 70th anniversary. CFI marked the milestone with the delivery of its 15,000th truck from Kenworth. The truck is next generation Kenworth T680 and will be driven by CFI's professional driver team of Ricky and Mary Norman. The Normans hold a collective 5.2 million miles driven with CFI.
Because the people are just so good. This Joplin community has surrounded us and supported us for so many years, and we just have some of the best people, not only in the industry, in my mind, but in the world. They just care about people, and that's what makes this place so special.
The company also unveiled 4 unique trucks with special wrap graphics to honor the nation's active duty soldiers, military service veterans, and first responders. Jacob Leonard joins us with a first look at the weather.
Well, most of us got off to a pretty cool start this morning, but overall it was one of the prettiest days we've had in a while. Taking a look at 7th and Rangeline here, clear blue skies, and that has been the case for most of the day. Now Joplin topped out at 78 degrees, which is right around normal for this time of the year. Not anywhere close to our record high of 90 degrees set back in 2017. But if you like warm weather, I'm going to have good news for you later because it is coming back. Skywatch storm tracker here, as has been the case for most of the day. Not a lot going on. Now we have seen the wind switch around from out of the north to coming out of the south now. So as you can see in some of our further western counties, Neodesha, Independence, 82 degrees right now. And then the further east you go, the cooler it is right now. 76 in Carthage, 74 in Mount Vernon. But we are going to warm up through the rest of the evening. Down through the 70s, through the 60s. Most of us will bottom out in the mid 50s. We do have some rain chances coming up, and it's going to be hot this weekend. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit, Dow.
See you then. 1 person is dead, at least 12 people injured following a mass shooting in Collierville, Tennessee, a suburb of Memphis. Happened early this afternoon at a Kroger grocery store. The shooter is also dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Investigators are still working multiple scenes at the store, including the shooter's car and other personal equipment belonging to the shooter. Authorities have not released the identities of the victims or shooter. The tensions between the U.S. and France over a submarine deal seems to be subsiding. The French ambassador to the U.S. will soon be returning to Washington, D.C. That comes after a phone call between Presidents Biden and Macron. It was the first time the two leaders have spoken since the U.S. and U.K. announced an alliance with Australia to provide the country with nuclear-powered submarines. French officials say they were blindsided after Australia ended its contract with France to build 12 submarines, a deal worth tens of billions of dollars. Top U.S. diplomat to Haiti has stepped down, calling the Biden administration's policies deeply flawed. Thousands of Haitian migrants are still encamped in Del Rio, Texas, where they face tough conditions and immediate expulsion. Deborah Alfarone reports from Capitol Hill, where lawmakers are calling on the administration to halt deportations.
The U.S. Special Envoy to Haiti has resigned. CBS News obtained a letter that Daniel Foote wrote saying, "I will not be associated with the United States' inhumane, counterproductive decision to deport thousands of Haitian refugees. Our policy approach to Haiti remains deeply flawed, and my recommendations have been ignored and dismissed."
Special Envoy Foote had ample opportunity to raise concerns about migration during his tenure. He never once did so.
More than 1,400 Haitian migrants have been expelled since Sunday. Department of Homeland Security officials believe many of the migrants have crossed back into Mexico, estimating a little over 4,000 remain in Del Rio, Texas. Demonstrators gathered in Washington, D.C. as part of a day of action to express outrage over the treatment of the Haitian migrants.
The Congressional Black Caucus has demanded a halt to mass deportations, and they've also asked for the firing of several Border Patrol agents who they say used aggressive tactics they're describing as racist.
This footage of horse-mounted agents prompted an investigation and now a policy change.
The secretary also conveyed to civil rights leaders earlier this morning that we would no longer be using horses in Del Rio.
The White House continues to defend its use of the Trump-era Title 42 pandemic rule to expel undocumented migrants from the U.S. regardless of country of origin. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
The White House today denied reports that some Haitian migrants would be relocated to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. Sources tell CBS News more than 1,000 Haitian migrants have been allowed into the U.S. to seek asylum. R. Kelly's defense team is delivering closing arguments this afternoon in the singer's sex trafficking and racketeering trial. Prosecutors finished their arguments this morning, painting the R&B singer as a predator enabled by an entourage at his disposal. The 54-year-old has vigorously denied the allegations against him, but did not testify at his own trial. Kelly also faces separate criminal charges in Chicago federal court, plus state charges in Illinois and Minnesota. Up next in Health Watch, new guidance from the World Health Organization.
New guidelines to cut air pollution. I'm Ian Lee with why scientists say governments need to act now.
And later, aviation industry leaders testify before Congress about a surge of unruly passengers on flights. Topping today's Health Watch, a CDC advisory panel voted to back the Pfizer booster shot following the FDA's authorization of a third shot for certain Americans, those 65 and older, as well as people 18 to 64 who are at a high risk for severe COVID-19. It's also authorized for people whose work puts them at higher risk, such as nursing home employees. The committee's recommendations are not binding, but will help shape the federal government's guidelines. UK researchers find COVID-19 mortality rates are steadily decreasing for people with no history of cancer over the course of the pandemic, but those with the disease or a prior diagnosis are not showing the same reduction. The study analyzed 195,000 people hospitalized in the UK, 20,000 of them with a history of cancer. Researchers say the reasons for the difference are not yet clear. We all know air pollution is bad, but a new study shows it's worse than scientists thought. So the World Health Organization has updated its air quality guidance for the first time in 15 years. Ian Lee reports from London.
The World Health Organization is slashing the recommended levels for air pollution, saying the harmful effects of dirty air kick in at lower levels than first thought.
Because of air pollution, the simple act of breathing contributes to 7 million deaths a year.
Health officials say polluted air increases the risk of conditions like pneumonia, asthma, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. The WHO is urging nations to cut levels of several pollutants, including nitrogen dioxide, carbon monoxide, and fine particulate matter, which can travel through the lungs and directly into the bloodstream.
Clean air is a political choice and a societal responsibility.
Scientists say some of the most dangerous pollutants are fossil fuels, burning from cars and power plants. Last week, a court in Indonesia found government officials guilty of environmental negligence for failing to tackle air pollution in the capital and ordered them to clean up the smog. Health experts say drastic cuts to air pollution worldwide could add 2 years to our lives. The WHO is now calling on governments to follow its formula for a cleaner future. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
The WHO guidelines come ahead of a key climate change conference in Scotland next month. A new study shows overdose deaths involving methamphetamine nearly tripled in the U.S. between 2015 and 2019. The research covered people ages 18 to 64. In 2020, more than 93,000 Americans died from drug overdoses. The study finds mixing meth with other drugs and increasing its use may be contributing to the increased overdoses. Intermittent fasting can help manage chronic health issues such as diabetes and heart disease. The popular diet trend involves eating your daily calories within a window of 8 to 10 hours. Researchers have found evidence that aligning eating with the body's internal clock can reduce the risk and impact of chronic conditions. And that is a look at today's health news. Jacob Leonard's next with a complete forecast. And a little bit later, a look at the latest weekly unemployment numbers from the Labor Department.
Land Furniture.
Well, if you got up early enough, your day started in the 40s, but we warmed back up through the 70s. And overall, it's a really pretty day for most of us across the area. Taking a look now, 7th and Rangeline, pretty clear skies. 77 degrees right now. Wind pretty calm. That humidity been low all day. Kept it pretty nice at 29%. And over the last 36 hours, you can see yesterday we topped out at 73 degrees. The winds have switched around here in the last few hours, and temperatures slowly gone up through the afternoon. Today, 77. Like I said, 40 degrees when you got up this morning if you got up early enough. Now, this is kind of cool. You can see the difference in the winds, and that's why some of us are cooler and that's why some of us are warmer. These winds coming out of the north covered our area earlier today, and that's what kept us cool. But as you can see, the winds over here switched out of the south, and in our far western counties, it's a little warmer. 82 in Fredonia, 80 in Yates Center, 82 in Independence. Then you go east, and it's a little cooler. 76 in Carthage, 75 in Lamar. Most of us going to start warming up. Skywatch storm tracker here, not a lot going on, and that has been the case for the last 12 hours. And that's not just exclusive to our area. You pull out, most of the central part of the United States has been quiet all day long. The future track for you here when you get up and go to school, definitely not as cool tomorrow as it was today. Most of it's going to be in the mid to upper 50s as we work through the day. When you're leaving school once again, we'll be back over 80, so it'll be a little warmer tomorrow. And then high school football tomorrow, it's going to be a pretty nice night, a little warmer than the last two nights, but for kickoff, most of us are going to be setting in the mid to upper 70s, so it'll be nice. And then as you work through those game times, head home, upper 60s, so it will be nice. Then through Saturday morning into Saturday afternoon, we have college football, both Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern at home. Southern kicks off at 2. In Joplin, it'll be about 78 degrees, and it'll make it up to 80. So it'll be a nice warm day for college football on Saturday. And here's what you got for tomorrow. 57 when we wake up, 75 by noon. We'll be back over 80. I think I put that in there twice, or it froze up. There we go. 7-day forecast is going to be pretty mild over the weekend, but then those warm temperatures are going to be back early next week. We're looking at 89 on Sunday, 89 on Monday, back to 90 on Tuesday. I don't want to say that, but I have to. We do have some slight rain chances Wednesday and Thursday. That could cool us off, get us out of the 90s. But overall, pretty nice and pretty clear start to next week.
You know it's chilly overnights when the graphics freeze up.
Yeah, that's how cool it was last night.
Yeah,
mess with our stuff.
Loving it. Thanks. The Biden administration is stepping in to help with the extreme heat still impacting parts of the U.S. President Biden says he's mobilizing an all-of-government effort to protect workers, children, seniors, and at-risk communities. He says several departments will help in the effort to make sure people have safe, healthy working conditions and cooling assistance in homes and neighborhoods. Coming up, airline officials give testimony about a record surge of unruly passengers. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Garland Wood served in the U.S. Army as a sharpshooter. Quapaw, Oklahoma native, was part of the 1st Armored Division, and we salute Private First Class Garland Wood, a 4-state hero.
Now at Roper Honda.
Topping today's Consumer Watch, unemployment claims tick higher, according to the Labor Department. First-time filings totaled 351,000 last week. That was more than expected and an increase over the week prior. Weekly claims were at a pandemic-era low at the beginning of this month. A new report finds the U.S. could fall into a recession if Congress fails to raise the debt ceiling this fall. According to Moody's Analytics, the lack of action could wipe out as many as 6 million jobs. This week, the House passed a funding bill that includes a provision to suspend the debt limit. It's unlikely to move forward in the Senate. Aviation industry leaders testified before Congress today about the recent record surge of violent passenger incidents on flights and at airports. Most of the incidents involve passengers refusing to wear masks. Reporter Errol Barnett has the latest.
Airline and flight attendant representatives are pleading with Congress to do more to keep air travel safe for everyone.
My colleagues are anxious and fearful. What is going to happen on the next flight? How will this passenger react if I remind them to wear their mask?
The number of unruly passenger incidents on flights surged during the pandemic, most over passengers refusing to wear a mask. A recent survey found 85% of flight attendants have dealt with unruly passengers this year, and 1 in 5 reported a physical incident. Sarah Nelson with the Association of Flight Attendants testified flights that originate in the South have been a particular problem.
We have had a lot of incidents out of Charlotte. We have had a lot of incidents out of the Florida airports and out of Texas. People have been led to believe that we're in conflict with each other.
The Federal Aviation Administration implemented a zero-tolerance policy and fines earlier this year when it became clear air travel in an ongoing pandemic was becoming unpredictable. As a result, the number of unruly incidents per flight decreased, but has recently plateaued. The FAA says Southwest and American Airlines suspending alcohol service has also helped, so it is now asking airports to limit drink-to-go orders.
Only airline employees, and specifically gate agents, can deny boarding to passengers.
Right, so they're going to have to do breathalyzers. All right, thanks.
There have been more than 4,300 air rage incidents so far this year and counting. Witness testimony suggested to end the problem there should be penalties beyond fines, like criminal prosecution from the Justice Department. Errol Barnett, CBS News, Washington.
Flight attendant groups are also asking for greater law enforcement presence at the airport. Some members of Congress want airlines to share and consolidate their individual no-fly lists. A holiday staple may be harder to find and more expensive this year. According to the American Christmas Tree Association, supply chain disruptions are causing an artificial tree shortage. Retailers say the setback could quadruple shipping costs compared to last year. Extreme weather events in the Pacific Northwest have also taken a toll on the nation's live Christmas tree supply. Hoarding comes in a lot of forms. According to a new One Poll survey, 2 in 3 Americans admit their smartphone camera roll is a wreck. Survey also unearthed some of the unusual treasures people collect at home. Frozen pizza, packaging, raccoon and penguin statues, and swords of any kind were among the top 10. A final check of the forecast next.
Services.
The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, the jury in a Joplin murder case reaches a verdict. Plus, authorities in Nevada, Missouri charge a suspect with first-degree murder. And in an effort to combat a nationwide substitute teacher shortage, an area school district is stepping up its efforts to recruit subs. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Hey, divers have discovered treasure off the east coast of Spain. The University of Alicante announced dozens of Roman coins were recovered near a small Spanish island. Archaeologists found a total of 53 coins so far. The find is one of the largest collections of Roman coins in Europe. Scientists date the coins to the 4th and 5th century and say they are perfectly preserved. They believe a wealthy landowner likely hid them from invaders and looters in the Western Roman Empire at the time, and they never returned for them. The coins sat underwater for about 1,500 years, and the fact that they look like that, they're so shiny still, is what's really remarkable, I think. The weather looking pretty good.
Yeah, you can see some of our area, some of the eastern part of the area is still getting that north breeze, so it's a little cooler, but the south winds are moving in. Western part of our area is a little warmer right now, and that's going to be the case for the rest of the weekend. 82 on Saturday, 89 on Sunday. Then the 90s return early next week. We do have some rain chances late next week to cool us off, but overall, pretty nice weekend. Pretty nice start to next week, although it will be a little warm.
Yeah, and a little bit warm for Friday night football, but not too bad overall. Thanks for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. Of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.